honestly, when you're at Awesomeness Fest, you learn so many concepts that you have to take home and practice. And what I want to make sure I can do in this presentation is whatever's going to be done on stage is all that you need to absorb, take in, and do no other work, but only have that small shift so that every time you're in a sales opportunity or in a sales interaction, you come in with a completely different energy level. And you will see we'll bring amazing things into your life, okay? So first off, who are my salespeople in the room? All right? The first concept I want to explain is what is selling, right? And I'll use Jay Abraham as a quote here. Understand that you need to sell you and your ideas in order to advance your career, gain more respect, and increase your success, influence, and income. And I think this is one of the most limiting definitions I've ever heard. The reason being is that it's so much more. I just saw a beautiful sales pitch happen just before I got on stage, which was Mia telling you all to stand up and to all start screaming at the same time, and you all complied. That was a sale. And that was a sale that came from the heart. That was a sale from love. And this is where I want to bring a lot of you in all of your interactions you do every day so that you can start selling a lot more from love. Do you guys know what the biggest love sales speech in the world is? Will you marry me? Right? I mean, if you think about it, that's someone who spent his entire life interacting with his prospect just so that he could come to that moment of closing her and having him or her in his life for the rest of his life. So that just blows you away to understand, holy crap, everything is sales, right? But the problem we have is when you start thinking sales, this is typically the first image that comes into your mind. And I think that's a terrible thing. And what I'm going to do is completely shift that paradigm as well. Because here's what happens. What's your primary emotion when you're selling? For me, I almost believed that I would never be able to sell again, and I never wanted to sell again because I was put into an environment where I had to sell a product, which was a coaching program at $100,000. And what happened is that I was really good at it because I just had a natural knack for selling. And I found myself in this scenario where I had to pick up the phone, and when I got on the phone, it was a gentleman, and it was to buy real estate in the US. And this gentleman actually came out of jail. He couldn't even cross the border to go into the US. And what I was selling was a program to be successful in real estate investing while going into the US. And he's saying, no, I don't think I can buy this because I can't even go into the US. And my job on the phone was to say, you know what? Do you believe in yourself? Do you think you can do this? I think you can do this. And I don't think you're just making up some imaginary barriers. You'll be so successful. This program will guarantee you to get that success. We'll hold your hand. We'll carry you through. And you will have success. I guarantee you'll have 3,000% ROI on your money or money back guarantee within 1 year. I promise you that. And at the end of the sales call, the guy did buy. And I hung up the phone. And I didn't feel excited. I felt like I'd just taken something from this person, and it was a lot more than money. And I used up a lot more than my time in that transaction as well. And when I went to my boss and I told him, hey, I just closed the sale and made a huge commission check, and then he says, good job. And I'm like, this is crap. This isn't right. I don't think I want to do this. Selling is a bad thing. How could I do that to somebody like that? And I actually decided to leave that job. And I decided to come to Mindvalley because now I have the opportunity to only sell to amazing products, amazing stuff, and it's always coming from love. I truly believe that, and that was the reason why I'm here. But before I made that decision, I had to go into my mind because once I had that block about selling, I'm like, how could I shift my mindset about selling to becoming something that makes me feel good? And then I had to think about what are things that make me feel good that might be selling. And I remember just bringing flowers to my beautiful girlfriend who always hides at the back, Crystal, who's behind the cameras, making sure you guys have amazing shots throughout the event. I know she doesn't want to be called out. So I bring her flowers one day, and I just wrote a note just because, and she was super happy, and I'm like, that felt awesome, and that was a sale. I made an effort, and I gave her those flowers. There was a transaction. That felt good. How can I make it that in business or any other type of sales scenario, I can have that kind of energy into it? And of course, you think of chocolate when you want to feel good. And for me, this was my first mental note about selling that gave me the foundation to selling and loving selling so much for the rest of my life, is when I was in high school, we had to do these charity chocolate runs where you actually sell chocolate to your neighbors, and it was for $2. And when I thought back about that, is that I went to door and I sold chocolate, and the first time I was shy, I was like, hi, I'm Jason, would you want to buy some chocolates? And the people are like, oh my God, this is so much fun. Yes, absolutely, gives me $2, and they get all excited. I'm like, okay. That was good. So there was something different about that sale compared to how I did any other sale. And let me get back to this one. So what happened is that I understood that I had to sell from a vibration level of love. And it wasn't guilt, it wasn't fear. And I'm like, okay, it is possible. It was a reality. And where that brought me along is like, okay, if this is a possibility, then why is there so many salespeople that are bad? We're talking about people that take advantage, the people that are put into scenarios, or even people that when you get into an interaction with them, they're even apathetic. Like, why do you have so many interactions with salespeople that are bad? And we call this fundamental attribution error. I picked this up from one of the presentations from Vishen, actually. And what happens is that we always project our own reality onto what could be the reality as to why they interacted with you that certain way. But there's a big thing that happens when you're dealing with salespeople is you have no idea what's going through their heads. See, when I made that sale for $100,000, in my mind, I had rent to pay, I had certain lifestyle I wanted to sustain, and that was my reality. And when you are dealing with a salesperson and you realize that they maybe have taken advantage of you, they didn't treat you right, they were apathetic, you have absolutely no idea what baggage they had before they interacted with you. And for us to try to keep that energy, that hate or that anger towards that person is only holding you back. And I'll have you guys do an exercise at the end of this presentation to let go of that. But understand, you need to see that every person you interact with comes with their own baggage, and it's not about you. So you have to let that go. Now, in the concept of changing your paradigm around selling, I want to give it a unique definition because, as I said, there's a lot more than a product, a service, or money that gets exchanged when you make a sale. And Awesomeness Fest is the perfect place to introduce this new definition. I like to call it energy. Because what happens is that selling is the facilitation of an energy exchange between conscious being. This is time, this is money, this is emotion as well. See, when I made that $100,000 sale, it cost me a lot in emotion, and it brought me down for weeks. I actually went through a severe depression shortly after that, and that was a result of an accumulation of these kinds of environment. But understand that there is a cost every time you make a sale, and it will use up that cost every time you make it from some of these lower vibrations. Now, when you know that what you're offering is more than the total cost paid, it's the act of greatest love and care. It seriously is. I mean, you're literally telling somebody and making sure they are aware that whatever you're giving them is worth more than what they will need to pay in all forms of currency. How could you not see this as an act of love? It truly is. I mean, you will go through major lengths to make sure that they understand that concept and apply that concept and buy that product if you are coming from that energy level. I was not supposed to speak at A-Fest today, but I made sure to be relentless, and I sold my way to come on this stage. And the reason is because I believe so much in this message that I needed to share it with you guys. And because of that, the universe aligned, and here I am speaking to you. It's really important. Like, the underlying emotion in everything you do on a sale is truly what's going to determine. If you can just apply that, you will see your sales numbers soar, you will see your relationships get better. It affects every single interaction with any other conscious being. If your children doesn't want to do his homework, why do you try to convince him to do his homework instead of letting him go play outside? It's because you know it's best for him to be able to learn, get himself the right tools. You want him to be educated. You're showing him love, but you're selling him as well. So it's applicable in everything. Now, to be able to sell from love, I split it into 3 ways that you can apply love in selling. And I want you guys to look at this, and these are things you'll be able to shift your mindset and apply right away. Loving yourself is the basis of a lot of things. Now, I thought this would be a fun opportunity to tell you guys, if you have issues with loving yourself, we have this amazing Mind Valley Academy with thousands of products with a big sale happening right now. Actually, we have a lovely product from Jeffrey Allen being promoted right now, which I know is awesome. But not needing to say that, the simplest concept of loving yourself was already done. The concept was explained by Marissa. I am enough. A lot of times when you're dealing with salespeople that don't show that kind of energy that you were hoping to receive from that salesperson is because they're in a position where they don't even get to have self-love. And so understand it has nothing to do with you. Now, if you are trying to make the sale and you feel that you are uncomfortable with selling, you know this is the basis to a lot more than selling, but it is applicable in selling as well. You are enough. You do need to love yourself. It's the first love. If you're going to be giving love, you need to love yourself, okay? But I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to the choir in this audience. The second love is love your product. See, in the case where I left, I didn't love the product. But if you're going to be doing any kind of sale, if you are a coach, if you are a trainer, if you are somebody who has any kind of product to sell, you need to love your product if you're going to feel comfortable making any sale at any point to any client. Now, the first question that comes to mind is, what happens if your product is broken? What happens if your product, you realize, you know what, I'm selling this for $100, but really, it's worth $50. Fix it. Fix it. That's your duty. You are selling your product. This is an essence of you. Everything you do and everything you communicate to the world is a representation of you. If you know your product isn't worth what you're selling it for, just fix the product. Bring it up to value. If not, adjust the price because you know you're going to pay for it because every time you'll make that sale, it'll come from a different energy level and it'll be expendable. Okay? So fix your product. Now, what happens if you're an employee and that product is you? Then you refer to the first love, which is love yourself. You need to love yourself. And again, if you feel like you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you don't deserve that promotion, again, it's simple. Fix your product. You fix yourself. That's why we're here. That's why we're learning new models of reality. That's why we have new systems for living, because we know that we are malleable people that can upgrade ourselves. So do fix yourself. Upgrade yourself. But there's a catch. There's another type of salespeople we have to be very careful about, and that's when you become narcissist. You don't want to love yourself too much because if you are, you're fitting in a category that has the first two types of love, but you're lacking the third, which is the most important love to have if you're going to be in any kind of sales position. Love your client. Like, I truly mean deeply love your client. See, I do mega launches and mega online events with Mindvalley. And the first thing I do before I get on any kind of marketing research or any kind of online data scouting, no, I pick up the phone. See, I grab a list of people who bought the product in the past, and I want to get to know them intimately. I just did a big program with Christy Marie Sheldon. It was an amazing program. And when I got on the phone with the people, I could feel them. And then I understood why I needed to work extra late. I understood why I needed to do that extra research, why I need to do these extra tweaks, because I started resonating with who this client was, and I understood that they needed help. And when they bought this product, it changed their lives. It truly did. How could I even complain about overtime when I know that every extra hour I put into this, I might be able to shift one more person to understand that they need to buy this product because it will change their life. When you start considering your business, yourself as an employee, in a relationship. I mean, God, I've been keeping my toilet seat up all week here, and my girlfriend keeps giving me crap about it, and I've been empathetic. That was very disrespectful on my part. I love my client. I'm going to bring that seat down next time, I promise, okay? But seriously, in everything you do, love the party you're interacting with, because once you start vibrating from that energy of just knowing that whatever you're doing is out of true love for that person, you will see that everything else melts. It's no problem. It's so easy. And again, this is the definition. But here, there's another thing that I didn't highlight in bad salespeople, because what happens is when you know, you offer more value. Now, what happens if you want to manipulate this formula and you start changing the perceived value? I'm going to get a little more technical here, but in sales, there's true value and there's perceived value. And marketing is great at cranking up perceived value because you'll be able to make the sale. Be very careful when you become a good salesperson, because you'll find yourself in a position that you might have to do some sales that won't be the true value that you're giving to your client. And if you have client love, you'll protect yourself. As the wise words of Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So be sure that if you become a qualified salesperson, do not go to the dark side, okay? Now, I'm going to conclude this with a few exercises that I want to get you guys to do. It's going to be 3 ways to stop selling from fear, because most of us do sell from a position of fear. We're going to start shifting that away to a position of love. Now, I'm going to ask Lee to play a bit of meditation music as soon as I cue you. Anil talked a lot about this during his workshop, and forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools. Actually, his quote is that it's the express way to happiness. And in sales, there is an element of forgiveness that needs to happen. One of the biggest things that happened for me that I needed to forgive within sales is I bought myself that coaching program that I used to sell. And I had paid $30,000, and when I got into it, I started buying a tons of property, and I realized the coach that was teaching me was a scam artist. He didn't know what he was doing. He was just telling me to buy property, buy property. Good things happen. I ended up buying 23 condos within 3 months when I was 20 years old. And we moved about, I think it was something like $700,000 of real estate, and we got into a panic when we realized, okay, we have all these properties under contract, and then we were asking the coach like real questions. He didn't know anything, and he disappeared. And we got completely sideswiped and blindsided, if I can quote Mr. Hamilton, and we didn't know what to do. And I had tons of people that I was selling these properties back to, and honestly, it was the darkest times of my life. And I've hated that person for so long, and I could never forgive what that person did, but he made me the person I am today. And I was able to forgive him, and I realized that those things that I went through and I needed to go through in my life was something that would allow me to grow. I've never spoken to the person again, but I've done some exercises such as the 6-phase meditation. And when I get into the phase of forgiveness, I forgive him and I thank him. And that was hard for me to do at first, but now I do it so comfortably. And if I do see him, I'll hug him and I'll say, please don't do that to other people, but you've given a lot to me. And perhaps I didn't even understand where he was coming from. Perhaps he actually knew that I could take it. He knew that I would fix it. I read all of the IRS codes and I fixed everything. And that was, again, because I had love for my client. So what I'd like to invite you all to do is we're going to go into closing our eyes. And I want you guys to think of what is the first negative sales experience you might have went through that you were left with a negative thought or you were cheated. And this could be buying your first car. This could be just, trying to buy a plane ticket and it didn't work. Perhaps it's your parents where you tried to get something as a child and they said no to you. And for that moment, you knew that, I don't want to sell because, I remember when I had that interaction with my parents. And Lee, if you can put a bit of music here. I just want you guys to imagine that person. That person came with a lot different story than where you were coming from when you interacted with them. Maybe their wife was in the hospital and he needed to pay the bills and he needed to make that sale to you. If it's a parent, perhaps they were in a position where they couldn't pay the bills and they couldn't get you that toy you wanted. Whatever that story is, imagine that person in front of you right now. And please forgive them. Tell them you're sorry for holding this grudge to them. Understand that when you hold on to this, it actually holds you back. It prevents you from doing the amazing things that you need to do and the ideas that you need to spread. Because now you'll be liberated from any limiting blocks you have around selling. And when you start to be empowered with selling, it'll be easy to communicate with everyone in any situation. Now imagine them giving an amazing Awesomeness Fest hug to this person. And let them go. Just let them go. You've moved way past that event. Now the world needs to see how awesome you are. All right, guys, you can open your eyes. This is a very quick exercise that I just wanted you guys to do. But honestly, practice this. If you're doing the 6-phase meditation from the envisioning method that we have at Mindvalley, it is a free meditation that we give out. This is one of the things you can recall if ever you feel like you've forgiven everything in your immediate surroundings. Think of these deep past things that you're holding on to, and they serve you no more. All right, you can cut the music, Lee. Getting emotional. The second one is grow. This one is a simple concept, and I like to introduce it this way. I read a lot of sales and marketing books, and when you're vibrating from a power of love, the reason I read this is because I realize that every time I learn a new sales tactic, a new strategy, an optimization tool, or anything, it's actually me showing compassion and love to the people that I'll be selling it to. Because again, my goal is to understand, or is to give to them something that's more valuable than what they need to pay. And I will go towards any means to ensure that my communication improves so that they will be able to receive what they really need to have. So read books, attend seminars, embrace selling. It's a beautiful thing. You know what one of my best sales books is? The Game. Any guys know what The Game is? Okay, I kid you not. I could not get an amazing girlfriend like I have right now if I wouldn't have read that book. It told me all the tricks and tips I needed to know so that I could find a girl to love me because I didn't feel like I could be loved and I didn't have any ways of approaching a girl. I used the pickup line from that book when I first talked to Crystal, and it's amazing. It'll be almost 2 years we're together and I love her to death. And again, you can read that book two ways. It depends on the energy you're vibrating. If you're coming from that love position, girls, read that book too. You'll start detecting the ones that come from the lower energy levels. So grow, learn sales. It's a beautiful thing. Invest in yourself. Now the last one is just more love everywhere, outside of sales, everything. And for this, I'm going to have another little exercise to get you guys to do. So you see, in any circumstance that you're interacting with someone else, a sale is always made. Now, this whole presentation's cute, but there's really one purpose as to why I did it. It's because I believe in renewable energy. Every other sale you do below a level of love is an expendable energy. And I told you, every time I sold something, a piece of me left. When you sell from love, every transaction raises the energy level of both parties involved. So we're just trying to create sustainable energy for the whole planet. Doesn't that make sense? So thank you all.